So ever get that little flutter of anxiety thinking about, navigating an airport where English is the main language?
Hmm.
Maybe you've got a trip coming up, or you're just wondering how to make those big travel hubs feel a bit less overwhelming.
Yeah, that's a common feeling.
Well, get ready, because we're about to try and make things a whole lot clearer for you.
That's right. We're diving deep into the world of airport travel for English learners today. We've pulled out what we think is the essential info from some really helpful sources.
Yeah, think of this as your personal guide, sort of aimed at helping you feel more confident, more in control, right from the moment you walk in the door to, finding your gate.
Exactly.
We've looked at everything, quick guides, more detailed stuff, all focused on making that airport journey smoother, more understandable for you.
Our mission today is pretty simple, really.
Yeah.
Just to extract the absolute must-knows. So your next trip feels, hopefully, less like a puzzle and more like a breeze.
Okay, love that. So where do we even start? How do we unpack this whole airport experience?
Well, actually, before we even jump into specific phrases, our sources really highlight some fundamental stuff, just general airport behavior. What were your thoughts on that part?
Yeah, that struck me too. The big takeaway for me was just being a considerate traveler. I mean, airports are so busy, right?
Oh, incredibly.
So this idea of being polite, being patient, it really stood out. It's almost like a shared social contract in what can be a pretty stressful place.
Absolutely. And it's more than just, like, good manners. It's actually practical.
How so?
Well, following instructions from airport staff, from security, it isn't just a suggestion. It's actually crucial for safety, for compliance, and honestly, just for keeping things moving.
Right, keeps the line moving.
Yeah, imagine if everyone tried to just, bend the rules even slightly. The whole system would just grind to a halt.
Total chaos. Yeah, it's about understanding these procedures are there for a reason. And kind of related, keeping an eye on your bags seems small, but the sources point out how much trouble it saves.
Oh, definitely. Lost luggage, security alerts because of an unattended bag.
Yeah.
These things can really throw a wrench in your plans.
Big time. And you mentioned politeness earlier, even just using please and thank you.
It genuinely helps. Smooths things over, shows respect. And let's be honest, people are generally more willing to help someone who's being polite, aren't they?
True. Sets a better tone for the whole interaction. And maybe the golden rule, the one everyone knows but maybe forgets in the moment, arrive early.
Yes. The sources really, really hammer this home.
Giving yourself that extra cushion time for check-in, security, finding the gate, it just melts away so much stress.
It really does. Nobody wants to start a trip feeling rushed and flustered.
Exactly.
That's the core of it, isn't it?
Right.
Minimizing that anxiety. And a huge part of that is feeling, well, linguistically prepared.
Okay, so we've got the basics of behavior down. Politeness, patience, follow rules, watch bags, be early.
Pretty much sums it up.
So let's dive into the language itself. Those essential English phrases you're likely to hear. Where does it all kick off? Check in.
Check in, yeah. That's your first main interaction. And the sources give us some really common questions you, the traveler, will probably hear.
Like what?
Things like, where are you flying to today? Pretty direct.
Okay.
Or, may I have your passport, please? The standard request to check your ID.
Right. And for you, the listener, having some simple responses ready makes this way smoother.
Definitely a simple, here you go, as you hand over the passport. Perfect.
And for the destination?
Just state it clearly, I'm flying to Los Angeles or, wherever it is. Keep it concise.
Makes sense. What other questions come up right there at the check-in desk?
Luggage. That's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah.
They'll likely ask, are you checking any bags? They need to know what's going into the hold. And then, probably, do you have a carry-on for the bag you're taking onto the plane with you?
Yeah.
All about baggage allowances and getting it sorted.
Got it. Okay, so check-in's done. You've got your boarding pass. Next up, usually security, right? Which can feel a bit more intense.
Yeah, a bit more scrutiny, perhaps. And there are common instructions here, too. Things you'll definitely hear. Oh, the classic. Please lay your bags flat on the conveyor belt. Helps them get a clear x-ray. And then, the one everyone expects, do you have anything in your pockets? Keys, phone, coins.
Right. And again, simple, clear answers are best for you here.
Exactly. Yes, I have my keys and phone. Just let them know. Or a straightforward, no, I don't, if they're empty. Honesty and clarity speed things up for everyone.
Good point. Okay, through security, then it's often a bit of waiting, maybe some duty-free browsing.
Or just finding your gate and relaxing.
Right. And then finally, boarding. What are the key phrases in those announcements you really need to listen for?
Okay, yeah. Paying attention here is crucial. You'll hear things like, United Airlines Flight 880 to Miami is now boarding. Gotta listen for your flight number and destination.
It makes sense.
And then there's the one that gets your heart rate up a bit. This is the final boarding call for.
Ah, that means hurry up.
That means they're about to close those doors. Get to the gate. Now.
Right, and when you actually get to the gate, it's usually pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah, just presenting your boarding pass and your ID again. Hopefully a smooth walk onto the plane.
Okay, you've made it on board. Phew. What kind of English might you encounter once you're settled in your seat?
Well, the classic airplane question during meal service, right?
Let me guess. Chicken or pasta?
Exactly.
Mm.
Or fish or beef, whatever the options are.
Right.
And then when the drink cart comes around,
Anything to drink.
yep, offering water, juice, soda, coffee.
And again, simple, polite responses work best for you. I'll have the chicken, please.
Or a Diet Coke, thank you. Perfect. See, breaking it down stage by stage like this really shows how manageable the language can be.
It does. And our sources really emphasize that even just practicing these phrases, like saying them out loud before your trip.
It makes a huge difference to your confidence.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just getting comfortable with the sounds, the rhythm of the language in these specific situations, it helps a lot.
Okay, so that's the common conversational stuff. But airports also have their own special vocabulary, don't they? Understanding those terms is pretty key, too.
Oh, definitely. Knowing the lingo helps you understand signs, announcements, even forms you might need to fill out. Our sources pulled out some really useful ones.
Let's run through a few for our listener. Luggage, that's pretty straightforward. Your bags, your cases.
Right, your stuff.
But then we get immigration and customs. People sometimes mix these up. What's the difference?
Good question. So, immigration is where they check you. Your passport, your visa, making sure you have the legal right to enter the country. It's about you, the person.
Okay, person check. Got it. And customs.
Customs is about your stuff. Yeah. The goods you're bringing in. They're checking for anything illegal or things you might need to declare and maybe pay tax on.
Ah, okay. So immigration, people, customs, things, that helps. And you mentioned declare. What does that actually mean in this context?
To declare something means you have to tell the customs officials about certain items you're carrying. Usually things you bought abroad, especially if they're over a certain value or quantity, like expensive gifts, lots of alcohol or tobacco.
Right, so you have to report it. Okay, good to know. Now, thinking about the plane itself, aisle seat.
Yeah, that's the seat next to the walkway, the aisle, as opposed to the window seat or the middle seat.
Okay. And then there's the often tempting duty-free shop. What's the deal there? Why is it duty-free?
Duty-free means you're not paying certain local taxes on those goods, usually because you're taking them out of the country.
Ah.
So you can sometimes find good deals on things like perfume, alcohol, chocolate, electronics. It's a bit of a travel perk.
Nice. Okay, shifting to the airport infrastructure. Runway.
Simple enough. That's the long strip where the planes take off and land.
Right, and sometimes your journey isn't direct. You might have a stopover. What does that mean for you as a traveler?
A stopover is usually a longer break in your journey. Like, you might spend a night or even a couple of days in a connecting city before continuing to your final destination.
Okay, so it's a planned, longer stop, different from just changing planes quickly.
Exactly. That shorter connection is usually called a layover. A stopover is more substantial.
Good distinction. And finally, the exciting moment, take off.
Yep. That's when the plane leaves the ground and your flight actually begins.
Wow, okay. Just knowing these key terms feels like it could really take away some of the confusion, you know? Reading signs, understanding announcements.
Absolutely. It reduces that feeling of being lost or uncertain. When you hear proceed to immigration or see a sign for a customs declaration, you'll have a much better idea of what's expected of you.
Okay, so we've covered general behavior, essential phrases, stage by stage, and key vocabulary. Now, the big question, how can you, our listener, actually practice and get better at all this? The sources had some solid tips, right?
They did, yeah, some really practical stuff. One thing they strongly recommend is actively listening to recordings of real airport announcements.
Oh, interesting. Where would you find those?
You can often find them online, YouTube, maybe language learning sites. It just helps you get used to the speed, the typical phrasing, the kind of information they give out.
Sort of tuning your ear.
Exactly. And similarly, watching videos of airport scenarios like check-in dialogues, security procedures, seeing it visually really helps cement the language. Learn English Teens was mentioned as a good place for that kind of listening practice.
That makes sense. Seeing and hearing it together. What about more active practice, not just listening?
Role-playing is a big one. If
Yeah.
you have a friend, a language partner, even a teacher, try acting out the different situations.
Like one person is the check-in agent, the other is the traveler.
Precisely. Going through security, boarding the plane, it gives you a safe space to practice speaking and responding without the real-world pressure.
Like a dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
I like that. And of course, there are online resources too.
Oh, tons! The sources specifically pointed to sites like Espresso English, English Club, and the main Learn English platform. They all have lessons and exercises specifically on airport English.
So dedicated materials you can work through.
Yeah, very structured learning. Espresso English was also mentioned as having a more comprehensive everyday English speaking course that includes travel English modules if you wanted something more in-depth.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a whole range of tools out there for you. Listening, watching, role-playing, online exercises.
Exactly. Whether you learn best by hearing, seeing, doing, or studying structured lessons, there are options. The key thing is just to actively engage with it. Put in a bit of practice.
Makes sense. It's all about building that familiarity, that competence. So when you are in the airport, it feels less daunting.
That's the goal. Less overwhelm, more confidence.
Well, you, our listener, we've really dug into it today, haven't we? We looked at those essential behaviors for airports, the key English phrases you'll probably hear and use step by step through the journey.
And that crucial vocabulary that helps you decode signs and announcements. Plus, those great resources you can use to practice and get better.
And really, by taking the time to understand these things, the etiquette, the language, the terms, navigating an airport as an English learner can genuinely become much smoother, much more manageable.
It really can. It just comes down to a bit of preparation, knowing what to expect. Takes a lot of the anxiety out of it.
So here's maybe a final thought for you to mull over. Think about the next time you might be in an airport. Or just imagine it for a second.
Okay.
Which of these phrases or terms we talked about do you think would be like the most useful for you right away? And maybe think about how feeling prepared, having that knowledge ready, how might that actually change your whole experience of traveling? Could it maybe even lessen some of that pre-trip worry?
It's interesting, isn't it, how just a little bit of proactive learning, knowing what's coming, can make such a big difference in how we navigate and actually experience these kinds of situations.